We're back, and the NBA draft is just 2 weeks away, so I'm going to go ahead and get a mock 1.0 out for you guys for the NBA draft. Just did all of my research on all the draft available players. A lot of guys going back to school, whoever stayed in, did some research on them. Some I already knew because I watched a lot of college basketball this past season. If you don't know, that's where a lot of my views came from recently in March, but definitely have some opinion on some of these guys, but this is going to be more so what it seems like these teams might realistically do. Some of it might change the closer it gets. The beginning, I maybe have went a little bit based on what reports are, and then later on, it's kind of fair game of, hey, what you think fits with them, what I think the team should do, what I would do, all that good stuff. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and dive into the first mock draft for the 2025 NBA draft. Starting off, the Dallas Mavericks obviously somehow won the lottery and praise the basketball gods, I guess, and they ended up getting the first overall pick. And obviously, no question here, they are going to be going with Cooper Flagg, the basically number one pick since I'd say the beginning of the year. I think some people maybe had Dylan Harper potentially jumping him. That just definitely did not happen. I think the only question really for him is people questioning how good he's going to be, because they know he's going to be really good. It's just, is he going to reach that, Scottie Pippen level comparisons that some guys have, or is he going to be more like, I don't know if you saw, but on The Ringer, some guy compared it to like Detlef Schrempf, and he's going to have a career like that. That's kind of the questions going. I would definitely choose the latter. I think Scottie Pippen's a very good comp. I've seen a bunch of different ones. That's kind of the one I tend to really agree with. And I do think he's going to live up to that kind of mold. I'm not really someone that's very hesitant on Cooper Flagg and how good he can be. I understand some people in terms of saying he's not elite at anything, but I think he is so good at so much stuff that it's pretty easy to say, yeah, he easily could be elite in all this stuff, especially given he is like basically 18 years old and reclassified to be a freshman here, and was clearly the first or second best player in the country, led a team that literally was one of the best teams historically during the regular season. I mean, they had one of the highest net ratings ever. He was the best player on that team and led them to the Final Four, and they got super close. I think obviously the only thing you may be concerned about is some of his clutch time performances, but again, he is just so young. He's literally one of the youngest players in the draft and clearly the best. Even if he wasn't the youngest, he would still be looked at very highly in this class. So Cooper Flagg, pretty easy number one overall pick there, and they definitely get saved. I mean, they have obviously Anthony Davis and Kyrie trying to win right now. I think Flagg can help win right now and still get better. So you can easily kind of flow into that. Okay, after these guys move on, we have Cooper Flagg as our superstar player. So good for them there. And then the Spurs, this one has obviously kind of been rumored to maybe be traded to, maybe the Bucks for Giannis, maybe for Kevin Durant. In this case, I will be doing trades, but not this one with the Spurs. As of right now, I just don't think there's enough to go off of. And because of that, I think they also are, even though they maybe have a bit of a, crowded, not really, but already have a star guard here in De'Aaron Fox. They're going to go another one into Dylan Harper, who can play shooting guard, and I think De'Aaron Fox also can, but Harper will definitely be more fit for that role anyways. I would say definitely the second best player as well, for sure. He's definitely the second on my board. I think he's very similar to his dad, Ron Harper. That's kind of the comp here. I'd say definitely a better version, though, of Ron Harper. So kind of just as Ron Harper took a step up. Played very well in college. I think that obviously the Rutgers didn't have the season they wanted. It was mainly because of, I would say, other people on the team, and maybe another one that I'll get to later. But it really wasn't because of Harper. He was very good. He's got the size. He's only 19, showed a lot. I think he has the potential to be a multiple-time All-Star and can fit in this kind of team here with Wemby, Fox, and Harper as your big three. And if you want to trade this for Giannis, then that's an even bigger big three. So Spurs are just in the perfect spot, and they have the 14th pick, I believe, already in this draft. So if they want to trade number 2, they could do that and use 14 on a guy. If they want to maybe take number 2, they could trade 14 for a better person. I mean, they're just really set up, and I think a Harper only adds to that for the Spurs here at number 2. Then number 3, I think some people might think the draft starts here. I've wanted to change this because I've seen differing reports. As of now, I'm just going to make it easy for myself, and I will be going Ace Bailey. with the 76ers. Now, Ace Bailey is not, which, by the way, I'll have a draft rankings video out of my personal big board because I did a lot of research on a lot of these guys, probably next week. But this personally is not my number 3 player. I don't think he's the 3rd best player in the class. Obviously, the potential is there. I think that's the biggest thing that you're going off of. But personally, I think with him, like, he's just very raw, and I think a lot of the kind of stuff that he did while in college, I think is definitely fixable in the NBA, but I don't think is this immediate fix. And for the 76ers, a team that is trying to win right now, I mean, I think at least maybe they want someone that can do that, like a VJ Edgecombe or like I don't know, Trey Johnson. Those are, not that I don't know. I do know Trey Johnson, VJ Edgecombe, I think are better right now. But you talk about the guard spot. Is that too big in terms of how many guys they have there? Do they need to get a forward more? Yeah. I'm of the opinion that just get the best guy available. And in my opinion, that personally would be either Trey Johnson or VJ Edgecombe. But I do have Trey Johnson a little bit higher, spoiler alert, than Ace, and then VJ I think is right there, but I haven't seen really any Trey Johnson like reports of them taking him. I have seen a little bit of VJ. Ace has been the main one. I really would be cool changing it the closer it gets to draft time, but as of right now, I'll stick with Ace Bailey because I do understand it. It makes sense. Not the one I would personally do at 3, but again, sometimes at the top, I don't want to go too far off course, and I still am not confident enough to say, hey, yeah, we're putting VJ or Trey here at number 3. So we'll go Ace here, and I think it's definitely going to be a bet. I think this will be a big kind of factor in Daryl Morey's position there in Philadelphia in terms of how long he's going to stay there. I definitely think that. The obviously Embiid stuff, I mean, still great, but the issues are really, the injuries are really piling up. The Paul George contract, not ideal. Maxi's your guy, but you got to have more than that. I think finding a few guys was really good, like Quentin Nelson, or I forget his name, but I'll show up on screen. Of course, Stone forgets names all the time. That's literally what I do. But they've found a lot of good guys. And so I think Ace is definitely, kind of the combination of all the good stuff they've done, all the bad stuff. Like, this could be the big determining factor of what direction this place goes in if they get this number 3 pick right. And I'm not saying Ace Bailey can't be correct. I'm just saying it's going to take a little more risk to do that at 3 than it would with these other guys. But I understand it. So we'll go ahead and stick him in there at number 3. And then number 4, for the Hornets, again, I think it's easy between one or two guys. I think it's VJ or Trey, in my opinion. Con Knipple is in that conversation as well. And I also saw Kaman Malawach on a mock. I would only do VJ or Trey. As a Hornets fan, I would also be okay with Con Knipple, but I think VJ Edgecombe or Trey Johnson are the 2 best, and I think the clear one for me is definitely VJ Edgecombe. He is, I think, clearly the best player available here. I think he's just a nice blend of great upside, but also you just feel good about being able to develop him on your team. Like, his defensive prowess is great. He's just got so much athleticism, which, I mean, in that room, I think you do have athleticism, but they just have not really been all healthy together or been able to put it all together. And I mean, when you look, it's like, okay, we got our point guard in LaMelo, at least for now. We have our small forward in Brandon Miller, and we have our, center, at least for now, again, in Mark Williams. Unless you're deliberately trying to go away from one of those guys, maybe you pick a Malawach or someone like that. But I think VJ would just fit great in between Melo and Miller, and a guy that, again, very athletic. I think his athleticism maybe gets him in trouble sometimes with what he does. Again, he's a little bit raw, but he's just a great athlete. He's not elite in anything, but I think can just be a really good player and has, I think, developed as a playmaker. And if you have issues where maybe LaMelo doesn't play, I think he can also kind of step right in and help out that point guard role, because they haven't really had someone that's been good enough to really kind of fill that position, while at the same time being able to start and actually play with LaMelo. So VJ Edgecombe, while I think Trey Johnson can do that too, VJ can probably do that a little bit better, where Trey would be better with the ball in his hands a little more. So we will go VJ for the Charlotte Hornets here. Then at number 5, I'm going to have the Jazz go BPA. I think that's what they need to do. Don't focus on what you have. I mean, I know, they have maybe some potential stuff with, Laurie Markkinen and Colin Sexton. I think Keontae George had a good season. They have Isaiah Collier. Filipowski was not bad. Walker Kessler. A lot of solid guys. I think the player they take will be eventually the best player on their team, and that is Trey Johnson. I'm very high on Trey Johnson. I think he is just a walking bucket waiting to happen. And I think for the Jazz, like, this is just great value. And I think they just need to go BPA. Just get the best player on the board. You don't really have anyone that you're like, no, he can't fit there. That's not really the case here. Trey easily is going to step in. Like, Colin Sexton's not stopping you from taking the best player on the board if it's a guard that plays the same position, and that's Trey Johnson. He scored 20 points a game, shot almost 40% from 3 on 200 plus attempts. Just super good. Can do pull-up threes, can do off-pressure threes or off-balance threes. Like, he just looked so good. He doesn't really drive as much and is, for 6'6", he's got a lighter frame, but I think if you watched him, you knew he was going to be super good, and I think he's the most pure talented scorer in the class. I think, obviously, Flag is right there, but I think it just pure buckets, pure talent, scoring, shooting, all that stuff. I think Trey Johnson's the best in the class, and I think he is similar to, if you're an old head, maybe like an Allen Houston. Allen Houston has been a comp that's thrown out a lot, and I do totally agree with that. His career might play out very similarly as well. Or you could do like maybe a little bit of a lesser playmaking kind of Tyrese Maxey for a modern comparison there. I think those are two things that are really good. And if his passing improves, again, only averaged 2.7 assists there. If his passing improves, which we've seen that happen with guys all the time, then he's going to be a total stud. I mean, total stud, and he would be better than the 5th player drafted. So I think the way this draft works out, though, I think this is his floor. But I think these look like the top 5 picks. Those look like the top 5 picks at the moment. And then number 6 here for the Washington Wizards. We are going to not necessarily go BPA, maybe for them, but I think a guy that would help just fit the position this team is in, and that's Jeremiah Fierce. He is a very young freshman. I think one of the youngest, if not the youngest player in the class. He's not even 19. I'm pretty sure he's 18. And he got a lot of run at Oklahoma last year. They gave him the ball basically a ton, and I think for the Wizards sorry, I already picked him, but for the Wizards who kind of looking at BPA a little bit, but also trying to get someone that maybe also fits a little bit, like they're not going to draft Kamal Malawach when they have Alex Sarr, I think Fears is great because, one, he would be one of the best playmakers on the team already. They don't really have a lot of playmakers there, at least young ones that you feel good about. And two, he's just so young and a guy that you can say, all right, here's the ball, hey, this is your team, go ahead, develop all that stuff. I do think he's more raw he's one of the more raw guys that will be drafted in the top 10. Because he's going to be a top 10 pick, but I think he's more raw, so I do have him a little bit lower. So again, that's why I said it's not best player available in my opinion, but I think for a team, I think it's going to be valuable because he's really young, fits their timeline, and there aren't many guys that are pure, okay, give me the ball in my hands, I'm going to drive, point guard, I can even play make, that are like Jeremiah Fierce. So I think it's just a perfect blend of the Wizards need someone like that because they need someone, they got Jordan Poole and other guys, but they don't really have someone that can just take the ball and go to the rack at point guard and who's young and can develop. So that one is more risky in terms of it could fail, but I think for the purposes of this, I think, hey, should be a good stepping stone for them, and it makes sense as a pick. Then the Pelicans at 7. I think you should just get the really good player here, and that's Con Knibble. I have him going to the New Orleans Pelicans. He's just good. Just real good player, reliable. He can fill needs that they have whenever they open. Obviously, Pelicans traded away Brandon Ingram. They're kind of in a weird spot right now. They have Zion. I guess they're committing to him, maybe. I just think the Pelicans should not overthink it and just get, in my opinion, the best player available, and that's Con Knibble, who's also just going to be good. I don't know how good. Multiple-time All-Star, maybe just barely an All-Star, really close. Who knows? But he's going to be good. He's going to work out. So I think at 7, it makes total sense for them, just getting good guys in the building, because I'm not really sure what position they're going in. But he's also really young. He's not some older guy that you need to win with right now. He's super young and he can develop. So I think it makes total sense for the Pelicans to go Colin Knueppel here. And then 8 for the Brooklyn Nets. I think this is where it starts, at least for me, to be like, okay, now it's being like, okay, kind of, it could be a lot of different people. Again, getting more to my personal kind of stuff as well as just assessing the team. I personally would go Derek Queen. I think Derek Queen is a better... I think he's very close. I don't know if he's necessarily for sure better, but I think he's right there with Kamal Malawach as the best center in the class. But the reason I go Queen over Malawach specifically for the Nets is because, you know, they have 3 first-round picks. I say while Queen is maybe more risky because he's an anomaly in just how he is. I mean, he's objectively a bit of a more riskier, you know, potential upside, but he's more offensive. And I think if I'm the Nets, I really would prefer getting the potential more offensive, higher potential player. If I have 3 first-round picks and it's at, you know, number 8 here between Queen and Malawach, like I would just prefer that. And I do personally believe in Derek Queen. I mean, the dude looked the part. If you watched, he had, I think, 25-5 in both tournament games. I mean, the only players to do that, all of them were really good in the NBA. He again, looks the part. I mean, the passing was obviously sometimes he got stuck there, but you remember, I don't know, the travel in the game. Was it a travel? Not, I don't know. Still, though, even then, like, he was really good, and he looked very good when playing, and he's an anomaly with his size and the way he plays, not as ideally athletically, but just go. You got 3 first-round picks. Go for the guy that could be, like, really good. Just, I mean, why not? Why not go for the guy that could be better? If I'm the Nets and the position I'm in, I really would prefer them to do that. So that's one I'm pretty strong hearted on, is the Nets going with Derek Queen. Then the Raptors at 9. I think this is also really easy. Go Kamal Malawach. Just go Kamal Malawach. I mean, you know, Chris Boucher is obviously the big one there. Scotty Barnes kind of goes between forwards, but you got Brandon Ingram there, so Brandon Ingram would probably play the 4, Barnes the 5, and then you got Jakob Poeltl. That's kind of the weakest, I would say, in your starting lineup. He's not bad, but he's not some guy that's stopping you from picking, you know, other guys here, and I think they would like getting another center, and Malawach fits the part perfectly. They need a big, fits a hole, fills right into the role that he's going to play. He's got, obviously, a lot of upside, one of the tallest players in the class, definitely a great lob threat, and I think someone who, you know, going on a team that is probably going to be at least good. I mean, I think the Raptors are going to be good. You know, Brandon Ingram hasn't played at all for them, but it's going to be a good team. I think this will work out really well for them. So don't overthink it. I think Malawach to the Raptors at 9 makes sense. Then number 10, this one we're going to get a little weird. We're getting a little weird. I'm going to have the Rockets trade this pick. I'm going to have them trade this pick, and it's, you know, you might be saying, hey, who are we going to trade it for? I already did the trade hypothetically, and I'll show you it here in a little bit, but we're going to have them trade down, but they're going to trade with someone who already owned the pick. That's right. I'm having the Spurs trade back for this pick. They're going to give back 29, and this is the trade that's going to happen. I'm going to show it to you right here. Kevin Durant is going to be a Houston Rocket. I'm going to have Jalen Green, I think that most obvious one, being given up here. Again, don't go too far into it. I'm just kind of doing a little baseline stuff just to get to go through. Dylan Brooks helps the money go through. And then 2 first-round picks, both of them being theirs. So their first-round pick, as you see in 2027, but it is top 3 protected. Could be unprotected. I don't care. I've seen a lot of different stuff of what kind of Kevin Durant's value is at this moment. It seems like the Suns might be willing to take a little bit less for Kevin Durant. I still think this is a really good return. Like, you get Jalen Green, who is a young guy that you could try and believe in. Obviously, Dylan Brooks makes the money work. And then 2 first-round picks, including this one at number 10. So at least 3 young players that could be promising for. 2 of them you'll pick yourself, obviously, but Jalen Green as well for Kevin Durant. Could it be another pick here and there? Could they get another player? 100%. Totally. I just don't want to waste my time going through too much of a trade that's not going to be affected here in the draft. The point is, the Rockets trade this pick to the Suns, and they get rid of Kevin Durant. And that's what I think. I think Kevin Durant's going to be either a Rocket or a Spur. seems like that's kind of the two ones that could happen. So in this world, he goes to the Rockets. Does that mean Giannis should go to the Spurs? Maybe. Would it happen on draft night too? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. In this one, though, we'll have this be how it works out. And what they're going to do is they're going to take maybe the best potential player on the board, but maybe the most risky, and that is Carter Bryant out of Arizona. Carter has the most potential, I think, at least of guys left here. I think he has awesome potential to just be a really good like 3-and-D player on kind of any team. So I think that helps a lot. He's not really stuck to one kind of scheme or whatever. I think he also, maybe this is a little high for me, but he definitely fits kind of this kind of range here. But I think he's high potential. Probably not going to play right now. But the Suns, I really don't know if they're winning right now, if they're trading away Kevin Durant. But I think the peak for him is a really good 3-and-D player that's either an all-star or close to an all-star. So I'm going to have them go ahead and take Carter Bryant here. Definitely the most unproven one of the guys that have been picked so far, but he's getting a lot of love with his length. He's 6'6.5", but he's a 7-foot wingspan. So pretty awesome there. So lots of defensive upside too. The Trailblazers at 11, this one was one that I think just fits perfectly. And that, for me, is Colin Murray Boyles going there. They desperately need someone that can just kind of fill, one, that's healthy, but two, that fills that 4 role. Like, they have all these guards, and some of these guards have to play small forward. They have these centers there, like Robert Williams. I think he's more of a center, to be honest. They have Ayton. They just drafted Klingon. Colin Murray Boyles is just the perfect guy that can play the 4, or if the 3, or if you want, but mainly will probably play the 4. It could just help be a connecting piece for everyone on that team. He showed a lot of potential defensively, but also playmaking wise. I initially, when I looked at him, I wasn't quite too sure how I would think, and maybe this is a little high for what I would rank him. But I think it just fits perfectly. I think his ceiling, potential-wise, is a Draymond Green. I think that's real potential. Like, he wasn't necessarily a shooter, but he showed that he did improve going into his sophomore season. And he's a very versatile defender. Has shown a lot of passing prowess. Like, I know it only says 2.5 assists, but the minutes were slightly limited. And even then, like, you could tell he was knowing what to do when he got the ball in his hands while being able to be under there. Or maybe the floor is like a Trace Jackson Davis or something like that. But I think he has Draymond type potential. And I think for the Trailblazers, just the fit, I really like this fit for Portland there. The Bulls at 12. For this one, we're going to get a little interesting. We're going to do another trade. Some teams have been rumored to potentially be trading up. I think the Bulls, if this is how it works out, where both Derek Queen and Kamal Malawach are gone, I think they are definitely going to be looking to potentially trade down. And a team that has been rumored to trade up potentially pretty high would be the Brooklyn Nets. At 19. Maybe this is higher. Obviously, they already had their pick, but they have a lot of first-round picks. Sorry, it's 4 first-round picks. I thought it was 3. 4 first-round picks. So in terms of this case, I'm going to have them trade number 19 and number 26 for 12 and 45. That basically works out in the value department. So we're going to have that happen. So the Bulls now get 2 first-round picks. And the Nets trade up with the 12th pick. And with that, they get a guy who's falling and I think could fit them. And that's Kasparas Jakučionis out of Illinois. With Kasparas falling here, I think this is very safe but still developmental guard for them that helps their playmaking problem. They really don't have a good playmaker in the building, at least a young one, and they have Kim Thomas, but he's not really a playmaker there. And I think Kasparas is one of the best playmakers in this class, 100%, and has at least proven that, even as young as he is. And being 6'6", 200, he has good defensive upside to where he can stay on the court as well and be a good starting, like, Goran Dragic type point guard, which is good for the Nets. Just get good players in the building. They took a risk earlier. I think Kasparas is still a bit of a risk, but he just looks the part of being more of he just needs to get his feet under him and then he'll get better, even if he's not as good right now, because he showed a lot of upside. So I really like this trade for the Nets. And then the Bulls, I think we'll see who they get back there, but I kind of like what they ended up doing in this draft too. Hawks at 13. This is one of the hardest picks to kind of go for. I think this is Carter Bryant's floor. If Carter Bryant is available, I think the Hawks will take him. And again, this is kind of hard. I ended up just going Asa Newell here. I think I do like Asa for the Spurs if he's available for them. Obviously, he's not in this case because they could really use a 4. But for the Hawks, like they have a ton of like athletes that can play the 2 and the 3. You know, sometimes the 4, but they have a lot of like centers that don't really play power forward. Like they can play power forward, but they're mainly a center. You know, so I think Asa can fill that role of like, yeah, I'm a 4 for sure. Like all you guys can stick to your positions there. Like you're all good. We don't need, be having slower guys that are trying to play power forward or smaller guys trying to play power forward. Like, no, I'm tall enough and I'm more athletic enough. I can fit perfectly here. So I think Asa also fits that, and he has great defensive upside, average 15 points per game at Georgia, 7 rebounds, tournament team. Pretty solid. I think he's just a pretty good, solid player and fits something that Atlanta kind of has a hole in, because Atlanta is in a position where they're not trying to lose. They're trying to win right now. So go ahead and get guys that can maybe help. Maybe he's not the most pro-ready guy, but I think he's a guy that can easily develop with time. So he's not insanely raw like maybe some other guys. So we'll have Asa Newell go here. Then the Spurs at 14. They could trade this away. I can see them doing that. But in this case, we'll just take both of them. And they're going to go with the Frenchman, my first foreign player, Noah Esengwe. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But again, they probably are looking for a 4 here, in my opinion, with Asa Newell just going off the board. I think Noah is definitely right there and available. I think he's kind of all over the place with where some guys have him. I think with this being their second pick, they can afford to take maybe a bit of a riskier guy. In my opinion, I think he's the best foreign prospect in this class for sure. But he helps their like lack of defensive forwards and wings. Like Keldon Johnson's not really that, so they don't really have a lot of good kind of wings / forwards, and at 6'8", 194, he can play small forward, clearly as it says, and power forward. So I think he also helps fit that too, and this obviously changes kind of if they trade for Giannis or KD. Like, yeah, they might not pick him, or might pick someone else. I could see that. So this is not necessarily going based off that. Maybe Giannis stays a year, maybe they trade for him later. I don't know, but in this case, we'll have Noah be going here. Even then, maybe they could take him, and maybe he goes to Milwaukee instead. Who knows? But we'll have him go here. The Thunder. This is another team that is hard to pick for, and I feel like they might trade this pick. At least that's what maybe it's been seeming, because they have a lot of their guys there already. So, I'm not 100% sure. But in this case, I'm going to have them just go ahead and go Igor Demin here. As he is one of the more raw guys. But I think they should definitely pick someone with more upside if they like all the guys they're playing right now that they have in terms of role players. But I think Igor can really help kind of fill that role of a guy who's really raw with upside. I know they've done that a few times, but that doesn't mean it's never going to work, because it works all the time, with certain players. It's just depending on how you develop them. And I understand the things of like, okay, well, they have Nikola Topic, who they just drafted, and, that does, like, he's also a guard that can pass. Like, why would they do that? And I just think, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, with that kind of Topic stuff, like, he could come over and we don't know what he is. He just got injured. And I also think Igor Demin can play next to Topic. Like, he's not just someone who sucks if he doesn't have the ball in his hands. Like, that's not the case. He's also 6'9", so he is a better defender and is more versatile. So he can play the point or the shooting guard or the small forward. So that's what is good about Igor. It's just he was very raw scoring wise, but he was one of the best passers in the class. I mean, 5 assists a game, 5.5 assists a game. One of the best passers in the class, just more raw, I would say. So it makes sense that the Thunder would go ahead and do that. We'll see if it's more like a Pokusevski thing or maybe more in the case where it does work out for the Thunder. We'll see. But I kind of like that spot there. Orlando Magic at 16. This one I really like too. I think this would be an awesome pick for them, and that's Jace Richardson, 16th ranked player, 16th pick here for the Orlando Magic. It seems like they are also a potential trade-up team. They've been rumored to want to trade up. I obviously didn't have them do it here, but if they trade away someone like Cole Anthony and Jonathan Isaac, like they're maybe rumored to, I think Jace is a really good pick to help fill that Cole Anthony role. In terms of what role he'll play, I think, Jace will probably just be a great sixth man for them, in my opinion. I think his size has kind of limited his upside. It says 6'3" right there. He ended up measuring at 6'1.5". So that's why he'll probably go lower than maybe you guys maybe think he should, or maybe the consensus think he should in the draft. But it's because of the defensive upside, because he's so much smaller, like that upside's much lower. But he was one of the most just professional like scorers in college basketball last year. Like, clearly the best player on the Michigan State team. I think he's just going to get buckets. I think he's going to have a really good NBA career, and I think he's probably going to end up being better than the 16th best player, but the defensive reasons is why. And I think he's going to be a great six man, as they already have the defensive stopper in Jalen Suggs, and obviously Anthony Black is going to be their starting point guard. Jace can be a great backup guard, but getting a lot of minutes. Based, like I said, six man, first guy off the bench. I think that'd be great for the Magic there. Then we have the Timberwolves. And in this case, I'm going to go a guy that I really like as well, and that's Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. He, for the Hawks, or not the Hawks, the Timberwolves, he just feels like a good pick. I just feel like whatever team picks him, like maybe the consensus doesn't really know about it, like he just feels like, okay, this is good. Like, in terms of the position they're in, like, they really only have Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert. Those are their only real big men, to be honest. And I think Rasheer Fleming can help fit in, as he can help be, you know, that power forward, sometimes center, sometimes, very rare occasions, small forward. And I think, at least, because, you know, Julius Randle plays the four, but he also is kind of more lenient, where Fleming is a bit more, you know, stronger, but he can also fit in and shoot threes. Like, he's not going to be clogging the paint at all, along with Gobert. So that's not the case at all, and he's going to really help with the rebounding. They've had kind of a rebounding issue. Fleming's definitely going to help with that. So I like that pick for the Minnesota Timberwolves there. I really like Rasheer Fleming. He's older too. I think this is a good fit. Then the Washington Wizards, their next pick. This is not my guy necessarily. I love him this high, but he's going to go this high, and it does, you know, make sense because they're multiple, you know, they have multiple picks in this draft. And this can be Liam McNeely to the UConn Huskies. I don't want to veer off too far from consensus, so that's why I'm going to have him go a little higher than I would have. But if you want to know that, I'll get my, you know, actual draft rankings video out later. But for McNeely, I think it's pretty simple. He can fill that Corey Kispert role that they traded away. They get, you know, basically the new guy in, just much cheaper, much younger. And that's kind of the role I think he'll fit. I don't really see this star player upside, in my opinion. I know Corey Kispert was really good when he got traded away, but even then, I still think just his production somewhere in between what he was with the Magic or with the Wizards and what he was, or where he is right now with the Trailblazers. Like, I think it's somewhere in between there. Is what McNeely will be, but it makes sense. Really young, you know, helps with the three-point shooting issue they had, but he also needs to develop in general with his efficiency. But I do see the potential there. I just don't think it's too high. But it's a spot that they are missing, so makes sense there. And then the Bulls, after trading down, I think this works out perfectly for them. And this is gonna be Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown. I really like this guy. I think this would be a perfect just position for the Bulls to be in. He fills a big need in terms of they need a big that can help defensively. Like, Vucevic is not a defensive guy, and he's also much older. This is it right there. Youth and depth on the interior. Zach Collins is their backup. He's not holding anyone off. Also is not really an interior defender. They really need that kind of stuff. And I really hope for the Bulls that they can do this, because this would really work out for them, getting this 19th pick and be able to trade down and get, again, another pick behind, and, you know, whoever that is will be another young player, because I think this team just needs more young infusion. Like, go ahead and just get that going. We don't need to be trying to make the play in or whatever. Like, get some young infusion in here in this team. I think Giddey is there, 22 years old. Kobe White is young at 25, not crazy, but they got Matas Buzelis. Like, lean into this young revolution a little bit, you know, quote unquote, for the Bulls, and go ahead and trade for, you know, this much younger guy here. I really prefer that. And then for the sorry, let me confirm it here. For the Miami Heat at 20, this one I didn't even really think about. Didn't really think about it, because I'm just going to instantly go Nick Clifford. Instantly. One of my favorite guys in the class. I have him higher than 20 for sure. I think he's just going to fit right in. Such a Heat pick for sure. Like, this dude is just a walking bucket. He was one of the best players in college last year. I think he's going to totally fit into just this Miami Heat kind of role. Maybe some people want more of the younger developmental upside, try and find another superstar. I think they're probably just going to go ahead and get a guy that still fits what they want to do. And I think Nick Clifford is totally that. Like, go watch highlights of this dude. He was a stud. I think, he did have his shooting, splits a bit sometimes in there. A couple, games, or maybe he'd go 0 for 5 from 3, but he'd have other times where he's like winning you games because he's knocking down all these threes. So he's not going to be a pure, like, I'm the best player on the team, but I think something that the Heat would really love in terms of what he is. So like that pick there. And then the Jazz at 21. I think this is BPA, and in my opinion, it's Cedric Coward, and he's back-to-back here with Nick Clifford and Cedric Coward. I have these both guys much higher than where they are, and I think this would be an awesome I think this would be such a good draft for the Jazz. Like, this would be an amazing draft if the Jazz get Cedric Coward here at 21. He might not fall this far. Might go a little earlier, to be honest. I would want to wait and see the reports, but I'm kind of all bought in. Like, I think a lot of people say this is my guy. I would just kind of join that pool in terms of my guys. Like, I think this is just someone that I also just really love. Like, he's a great story. He's, in my opinion, the best player available. I think a lot of stuff I'll get into in the kind of video where I go over my best players, but this is just a great story. Like, was former D3, ended up getting moved up, went to Washington State, only played like 6 games there because he got injured. Duke was recruiting him to play at Duke this season, and he ended up, even people in the draft were like, hey, we really like you, you should go to the draft. So he only played 6 games at a Power 5 conference school his whole career, and now he's like a potential first round pick 100% and might go even higher. Like, and there's a reason. He just has, I think, a ton of potential. I know he's around 21 years old, but he's lengthy, has all the upside, can score, rebound, like, defense. He just has upside of almost everything. It's just he's a little bit, he can get pushed around a little bit, so he's not really like a guy in the paint. So maybe that limits his rebounding. I don't know. And then obviously the injury stuff. Injury stuff is kind of why he's falling. But if that wasn't the case, like, this dude would be a guaranteed top 10 pick in my opinion. And I think if the Jazz get him here, like, I think that'd be perfect because he can play guard or forward. He can play both. Great pick for the Jazz. Then we have the Atlanta Hawks again here at 22. And here, I'm going to go a guy that had a lot of hype earlier, fell off, but has kind of picked back up a little bit. And that's Nolan Traore out of France. This is, their second first-round pick. So because of that, I think they can get the higher risk, upside, developmental player. I think for the Hawks, like, they don't really have a lot of bench playmaking in general. I think, when Trae Young is off, like, the plus minus is there. Like, they don't really have a guy that they like to step in there, and I think Nolan can develop into that. And even then, he's taller, so he's better defensively. But if the stuff with Trae Young, I mean, there are rumors of trades and everything with Trae Young. So if that happens, maybe not this offseason, but next offseason, I think it'd be good to where you've had Traore, who's very raw, in the building already for a year. And you would have this guy who has a lot of upside there. And if it doesn't work out, you already used a first-round pick because you just had one earlier. So I think that would work out for the Hawks there as well. 23 for the Pacers. I think they're definitely just looking at a big. In this case, all the bigs went early in terms of Sorber and everyone else, but there still is one that's definitely worth taking, and that is, as you see here, Mr. Danny Wolf. Definitely the most interesting guy in terms of just where he'll fit. Not the most, but one of the most in the draft, which, again, Pacers looking for a big. With everyone gone, I really like Wolf as kind of the next one because he can play make. That's his biggest thing. Average 2.6 assists, but was really, I mean, he ran pick and rolls with him as the main ball handler sometimes. Like, if you watch Michigan, he was definitely the big passer there, which was very raw. So a guy that can play make, but is also going to add on to this team's strength, which, is playmaking in terms of, what they have, because they have Tyrese, but that's about it. So he can add on to Tyrese's help in terms of he's so good at playmaking when he's off. Danny Wolf can kind of develop into that. But they also have a rebounding issue. They're not a great rebounding team. And Danny Wolf being a big is definitely going to help that. He averaged 10 rebounds, as you see there, at Michigan. So this helps fix the rebounding problem because they're not a great rebounding team, and playmaking outside of Tyrese Halliburton, because they don't have a lot of amazing playmakers. Or Wolf's not amazing, but capable and good ones. And I think Wolf can develop into that. It's just he does turn it over more than you would like. So definitely just going to have to fix that there. But a 7-footer that can play make and shoot and all that stuff, that's some pretty good stuff there. So might be a steal there at 23 for the Pacers. 24, we have the Thunder again, but we're not going to have them take another pick here. What we're actually going to do is have a team trade up. And while this might not be the most likely trade up team, they are rumored to potentially be trading up, and that is the Charlotte Hornets. I'm going to have them. The kind of specifics don't really matter. I ended up just swapping these picks here, but I think what they could also do is give up a second rounder next year for the Hornets and in 2029. So potentially 3 or 4 second round picks to trade up here. That would probably be what would happen, but maybe they keep 34, maybe they trade 34 and just give up another pick next year. I don't know. But either way, they're giving up 3 or 4 second round picks, the Hornets are, to go up here and take a guy that they like who's falling. He may not be high here, but he is higher on other people's boards, and that's the Tar Heel Drake Powell out of North Carolina. Again, I don't think the Thunder are going to take both picks, and the Hornets do have 2 high second rounders. They could package those to move up, or like I said, just give a couple more in the the years to come. But in terms of this case, like Hornets, go for the solid like developmental athletic wing again. That was VJ Edgecombe in terms of guard. This is similar in terms of wing. Like, get some athletes in this room here. And I think, Hornets go for the upside pick here, the North Carolina connection a little bit. I would like this pick if I'm a Hornets fan. So some people really like Drake Powell. Some people are a little lower, but I don't know anyone that hates him. Nothing like that. It's almost like if you miss out on, like, Carter Bryant at the top of the draft, Drake Powell is a great one to pick up there in terms of developmental potential 3-and-D wings that's really young at the lower end of the first round. So good job for the Hornets there. They go ahead and do that. Then we have the Magic again here at 25, and they're going to go similar. Hey, second pick. Let's get it a little more risky here. Let's go Will Riley out of Illinois. He is very young, but the upside is great because of the versatility. Like, he can play guard or forward at 6'8". Like, he is insanely versatile, actually played more than some of these other guys like Carter Bryant and Drake Powell. So he showed a little bit more, and he was still looked raw, but the dude was pretty, I don't know, like, just, I don't give an F attitude. Like, he put his neck out there a lot of times for that team and was definitely feisty in the game, and I think definitely is going to bring some kind of value to certain teams. And I think just the versatility is the reason defensively that the Magic will take him. With them taking Jace already, they can try and get a guy. If they trade Cole Anthony and Jonathan Isaac, they can try and get someone who's not a Jonathan Isaac replacement purely, but a guy who maybe is just a little more offensively capable than Jonathan Isaac, but still trying to get at least a solid amount of that defensive ability that Jonathan Isaac had. And I think that is basically Will Riley. That's basically what he is. So I like that pick for them. Then the Bulls, after they traded, they get 26, obviously. And with 26, I'm going to have them go, since the second pick, a little more risky, we're going to go Noah Pena out of France. Again, I have some of these France guys maybe a little lower, maybe higher for some people. Obviously, most of you probably don't know a lot of these guys. But again, yeah, a lot of guys from France in this class. I think all of them are kind of in this like 20-ish range. That's kind of my opinion. Maybe some of them will probably break out and be higher. Some will probably break out and be lower. But I think all these guys fit good in this like late-ish, mid-ish kind of first round range. And Noah Pena, is good. I don't want him to fall kind of in the cracks of all these guys. Like, more developmental, but can help right now at the small forward. Very lengthy. Will definitely try and fill the that role or mold of Matas Buzelis. But also, like, I know they paid Patrick Williams, but just because you paid a guy and he didn't work out in the first year, like, that doesn't mean like, okay, 100% he's going to work out next. Like, I think you got to potentially prepare, like, hey, this isn't a great contract. Maybe we move off of it later. And Noah Pena would help fill that role after. And small forward, I think they have like Kevin Huerter or other guys there. They also have Ayu Desumu playing small forward. So I think it'd be so much better if either Noah or Matas developed into actually being a small forward, and then the other guy was power forward, and then you got Sorber at center. And I think that's the names maybe people don't know right now, but the actual talent and upside there I think is really good for the Bulls. So I would get to know these two names. I'm not saying they will do this, but this is a Bulls draft path that I really like. Trading down and getting both Sorber and Pena to help shore up that front court I really like. Then we have, who is it? The Nets again. Again, developmental guys later on in this round, and it's going to be one that is a little lower here, but I don't know why. He definitely is going to be a first-round pick, and you should know his name, and that is Bogo Markovic. I'm not even going to pronounce the end there, but Bogo Markovic, and he is someone that rose definitely closer to the end here of this draft period. This could be, obviously, maybe Ben Seraph, who's the highest ranked foreign player on this board, depending on who they take their first two, but from what I saw with their first two, they took Kasparis and Derek Queen. I'm not saying Derek Queen's a full risk, but, you know, I think Bogo compared to Queen, like Bogo is a much higher risk than Queen is. But this is like a, you know, shot at a really high potential player, a stretch four, you know, not the same, but, you know, trying to fill the role of, you know, a Porzingis-ish, like much lighter-esque, or, you know, similarly, I think for the Nets specifically, Cam Johnson seems like he's going to be traded. Bogo would be that stretch four that Cam Johnson is. Cam Johnson's a stretch four they play there. Bogo's a little taller, so he has more defensive upside. That's what this would be, getting a guy that could replace Cam Johnson if they trade him. So that's the pick there. The Celtics here at 29, they are going to go, you know, they have a lot of stuff's going to change for them. Tatum with his injury, a whole year out. They're not going to be able to keep up these contracts. Porzingis and I believe Drew Holiday are rumored to maybe be gone after maybe this offseason or next offseason. So I think try and just fill the best role of that possible. And here, I think in that case, would be trying to maybe fill that Porzingis role, which would definitely be taking Maximine Raymond out of Stanford. Now, he's a little bit older. I think he's 21. I thought he was 21, maybe not 22. But that's what this would be. With Luke Cornett also being a free agent, that's two, you know, stretch fours that are basically gone. I mean, they're not stretch fours, but also stretch fives. They're bigger guys that can shoot. That's what Max can do. He can help do that. And if they lose Porzingis, or if he's hurt and they lose Cornett because he's a free agent and they can't pay him because they are a second apron team, I think this would make sense for the Celtics to try and attempt to fill that role as a guy who Stanford didn't do much, but this was a guy that was very talented. And again, just because your school wasn't great doesn't mean you aren't great. So I definitely have had to learn that since I've gotten older, because I know a lot of people just pay attention to the schools that are in it, the tournament, which I do too. But sometimes for NBA stuff, like you got to look all the way around to see some of these guys that end up shining. So Max for the Celtics there. We're almost done. Rockets at 29. I'm going to have them go, if, hypothetically, this could change, if they trade for KD and they trade away their guards and Jalen Green, I'm going to have a guy that I want to fit in the first round, and I think is definitely worth it, and that is Mr. Walter Clayton Jr. Obviously, all of you know him having won the national title last year, and for the Rockets, if they trade away Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks, I think the best player I would get. I mean, there's a few guys that might be higher upside, but if you're the Rockets and you trade for KD, you're trying to win. So I think getting a guy that can definitely help win in Walter Clayton. Now, maybe he's not as good as some people think, but I think he definitely should be a first-round pick. I think for sure. I don't want to see him as a second-round pick. I think that'd be awesome for whatever gets him. But definitely, I think as a first-round pick, I mean, I see the problems with, you know, the defense and the rebounding and the playmaking, but just a dude was so clutch, man. If you just watched, I mean, every single time Florida was about to be out, I mean, I don't think people realize there were 3 separate games where Florida's season was done. And it was a combination of Thomas Hawk and Walter Clayton as the main guy. Just, I mean, the Tyrese Halliburton shot when Tyrese got the rebound, just dribbled back and then turned around and just shot it, you know, fade away like that, 3. That's what Clayton did in some of these games and helped him. So I think just as a team that wants to win right now, I think Clayton's an awesome pick there. And then the Clippers here at 30, I pick that makes a ton of sense. Something they would need. Definitely going to have him go here. Ryan Kalkbrenner out of Creighton. I've seen this a lot for the Clippers. Again, this is if the Thunder win at all, then they have the 30th pick here. But they really need rebounding help. He's a safe bet. Zubac is there, but he's the only real big that they actually have. I think Kalkbrenner would help fill a role that they desperately need because they only have one real good rebounder, and Kalkbrenner is that. He can also kind of hit the three. He, went out there a little bit. He was very efficient last year as just an overall scorer because he can put the ball in the basket. Is not just a rebounder. Very tall, very strong. So very safe, pretty easy pick here for the Clippers. And that is going to do it for this draft. A few guys that I would have loved to fit into the second round or to this first round, but are going to be awesome second round picks that I want to shout out. Adu Thiero, I think out of Arkansas, is going to be a stud. Obviously, Ben Seraph was up there, but Sion James out of Duke and Micah Peavy out of Georgetown, those are all guys that are just older, really gritty professional guys that I think are going to impact the NBA. And maybe they don't make the first round because, as you saw, there's a lot of teams with 2 picks and they want to get maybe higher upside guys later on in the first round. And that's what a lot of teams do, and it makes sense. So if you don't remember here is the draft all the way from number 1 Cooper Flagg. I'll go a little slow here to 30 in Ryan Kalkbrenner. Of course, if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll have another draft board out of my actual in-depth opinions on these specific guys. If you want to know maybe more about these actual players themselves, go ahead and check that video out. It will be out in probably a week, and then a week after that will be the NBA draft, and I'll get a final mock draft out, and then after that, obviously, grades for the NBA draft, and then we'll have the NBA season coming to an end, and the NFL season starting up, and college basketball starting up, and hopefully everyone comes back to this channel when we get March going and college basketball comes back. But until then, stay smart, stay sharp, and I will see you guys later. Peace.